I mean, one of the problems is the United States became an empire. And empires and representative republics, they don't scale very well. Eventually, you get so removed from kind of the core voters, the core constituents, the core people you were supposed to represent, that you just don't care about them as much anymore. For many of these people in the ruling class, it's much more advantageous to control again and to retain power to just bring in new voters since the old ones don't agree with them anymore, or to bribe voters in in kind of their interests. And that's kind of the problem we're at now, right? Because there's a asymmetry in our political situation. There's an asymmetry between our two parties. The Democrats do what works in a democracy, and the Republicans don't. The Democrats are not shy about what works in a democracy. They have constituents. In fact, they feel proud of telling you who their constituents are, right? We're for LGBT folks, we're for Latinos, we're for African Americans, and we're going to get these communities the things that they need and they deserve. And then they go out and they secure that money and they drop it on these people, right? Now, not all of it. They keep a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. This is a patronage network where they pay themselves first. They take that graft, that money that they take from kind of middle America, and when they redistribute it to their patrons, they keep a large amount of it. They make sure that they pay off their corporate donors with it. They make sure that they funnel it through the university systems and all their other networks, the different unions and such. They make sure that their people get paid, their activists get paid so that they'll stay loyal to them, and they keep a lot of it for themselves. But at the end of the day, they are buying votes because it works. That's what works in a democracy. When you no longer have a clear, unified interest in the country, when you have expanded too far to where people can actually kind of see each other as part of the same system, then it all just becomes about groups fighting inwardly for what they can get. Now, the Republicans do exactly the opposite, right? We're the opposition. So that means that we can't take money and give it to our own people. We can't fight for the interests of our groups that support us because that's not what we do. We're fighting against what the left does, what the Democrats do. Well, that's great. I mean, some of those principles I actually agree with, but they don't work in this form of government. The incentive structure is not on your side. And everyone understood that. And that's why so many founding fathers warned about us becoming an empire. Some founding fathers did want us to become an empire. I think it's pretty clear that there's a specific kind of group inside our founding fathers that wanted us to become an empire. But many of our founding fathers warned against things like having a standing army, because that encourages you to use it to go invade other places and to expand in there. And once you do, then the interests of the areas you expand into, the foreign peoples that you bring in, even if you're conquering them, that's gonna change the way that you do things. And this is a tale as old as time. This isn't some disease that's specific to America. When Rome had a standing army, when they acquired a standing army, especially when they went through things like the Marian reforms, where they became a more professional fighting force. It was no longer about people who had enough money to buy their own equipment coming in. Instead, equipment and salaries were paid to the troops. So instead of having a citizen army based on kind of your aristocratic class and your citizen class, instead you had a professional army that was paid to constantly kind of be fighting, and they were more mercenary. That changes the dynamic, right? And that's, many people will point to that as one of the key turning points where the Roman Republic turns into the Roman Empire.